Yo, I've been having a blast doing Veda, and a lot of the messages that are coming to me for these videos are actually coming directly from you guys. So this video is requested by somebody in the comments section who asked, how did I get my start?
Indie Jones, back with a trendy flow. I'm still trying to find my voice in this here scenario. Here we go.
What's going on? My name is Ruslan. I am a hip-hop artist, creative entrepreneur, run a small mom and pop shop label called King's Dream Entertainment based in San Diego, California, and I have been a full-time musician, entrepreneur for 3 years. It's been almost exactly 3 years to the date since I put in my 2-week notice at my last job, and I have had a fantastic journey being full-time with this thing. I live in Southern California. My wife, who I've been married to almost 10 years, stays home with our 3-year-old son Levi. She helps me a little bit with shipping the packages. So if you guys ever order anything from KingStreamENT.com, my wife is the one that fulfills all the orders. And it's been really cool. And I'll break down some of the particulars of how everything kind of came to be and how I am in the current season that I'm in. So I started making music many moons ago, back when I was a little kid, messing around, freestyling, remaking old Snoop Dogg songs, and was super into Tupac in the 90s and Biggie and that whole era. And I got into high school. I was super into being a basketball player. I thought I was going to be in the NBA. And then my sophomore year, I got cut from my JV basketball team. And ever since then, I made the mental switch that I was going to take music more seriously. Up until that point, I just kind of freestyled around campus and got some positive affirmation from people. And once I made that mental switch, I started entering all the talent shows. I won second place in our high school's Battle of the Bands, I think in 2001, which was like a big deal for a rapper or hip hop act to win Battle of the Bands. And that evolved into me throwing my own events at Ringo Terrace Park in Vista, California. I would throw these concerts. Graduated high school, did what everybody does, went to college, and kept making music. Me and Belief met in 2005, and I formed The Breaks. Up until that point, I was in a group called Thoughts Aloud. I dropped the first official solo album called Out of Order in 2004. So this goes way back when, and I mean, first official, this was manufactured in some local stores. This is like my first official release. Up until that point, it was just kind of like mixtapes and little projects here and there. But 2004, I put out my first record. 2005, I formed The Breaks with Belief. And things changed for me when I was in the studio. At the time, I was producing a lot, and I was doing studio sessions for other artists in the area. And things really changed for me around, I want to say 2005, 2006. There was a local rapper who was originally from Pittsburgh. His name was TJ. And he's still a friend of mine till this day. And I remember being in the studio with TJ, and TJ was really big on like the MySpace marketing. And I was late to MySpace, completely my fault. But he was really big on like the MySpace marketing and really into just like the industry and the business side. And he was a cool artist as well. And he kept telling me, he called me Rude Diddles. I don't know why he called me Rude Diddles, but he was like, Rude Diddles, man, I'm telling you, bro, you got a knack for this music thing, but you gotta learn the business. You gotta learn the business. And I was like, man, ain't nobody trying to hear that. I'm an artist, I'm a creative, like that, you know, I'm a producer, like that business, that's for the birds. Like I guess in my mind, I thought at some point I'll meet a manager or I'll get signed to a label, whatever. And so I remember I was living in San Marcos, and he brought me this book, and it changed everything for me. The book was called The Indie Bible, and it was really just like a book full of different contacts in the music industry, from booking agents to all these different venues and all these different things. And the actual majority of the content in the book wasn't very helpful, but at the very end of the book, there were these articles about being an independent artist. I started reading those articles. I started consuming everything that I can about this topic of being an independent artist. And then at the same time, we submitted for Raucous 50 in 2007. Me and Belief did for our first Breaks record. And we got selected to be a part of Raucous 50. Raucous was an iconic hip hop label. It was amazing to be affiliated with that because they were responsible for records like Black Star, Mos Def, and Talib Kweli, and some early Eminem stuff. And we had a record come out through Raucous 50, which was super cool. And so around 2007, things really started, I guess, to pick up for us a little bit. And CJ also hit me to this thing called Sonic Bids. And Sonic Bids was a way for you to submit to potential bookings. You could submit to colleges, festivals, conferences, and we didn't really get a whole lot of bookings there, but I would make an effort to submit. But I remember one show we booked. It was, I believe, in 2008. We booked a show at Smith College in Massachusetts through Sonic Bids. It was the very first college show I booked. I had done some college event planning, but this was the first time we were paid as the Breaks to go do a show out of state, and it paid $2,500. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Now at the time, we weren't doing church shows. Till this day, I don't do a lot of church Christian type of events. I'm a Christian, I make hip hop music, but my music doesn't really live in that world for some reason. I don't get a whole lot of traction in that market. I don't mind playing churches. I love playing churches. But I knew early on that I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to play in general venues. I wanted to play in front of people of all walks of life. And so we got that first college show, and I was smart enough, for whatever reason, I was sharp enough to say, okay, I'm going to book a bunch of shows around this. And so I remember we did like a youth group in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is right outside of Philly, for like $75. And we did like this other show, and I think we went to this end of the week open mic in New York City on a Sunday night. That was just like, we just wanted to show our face. Braille connected us with my man Chris Durso at Misfit NYC, and this is 2008, and this is back in the day when Cross Movement was running everything in Christian hip hop, and we were in Philly, and it was just random festival that we pulled up to, and we went, and R. Swift was there, Lecrae, Tripoli, and we met all these dudes for the first time, and they kind of had heard of the Breaks. We were making a little bit of noise. We put out another record called When the Breaks Sold Out, and just kind of early cultivating some of those relationships. This is right around the time, maybe right before Lecrae put out Rebel, which was like his first real breakthrough record. And being around the proximity, those different people, was really cool, man. And so 2008, 2009, we're doing stuff as the Breaks, and then I hear about this thing called NACA. Now remember, I'm a Christian, I'm a hip hop artist, but I don't really fit in the church market. I don't really fit in the Christian market. And I met a young lady named Iwande. She was performing at the college I was attending, Cal State San Marcos, and she was like, yo, you got to check out NACA. I was like, yo, what's NACA? She was like, NACA is the National Association for Campus Activities. It's where you go to showcase for colleges in the region. It costs money, but you should do it. And other people had told me about that. And in my mind, I was like, well, how am I going to pay for this? It was like a couple $100s to submit. You had to have a membership if you didn't have an agency representing you. It was a lot of money at the time. I was a college kid. And she was like, look, when you go make CDs, you go press your CDs, right? And I was like, yeah. She was like, if you're trying to get nice artwork, you're going to pay to get artwork, right? And I was like, yeah. She's like, this is just like that. You need to put your money and invest it into something that could propel your career. So we started submitting to NACA. I think the first time we did was like 2010. Nothing happened. 2011, we submitted. And that year, we put out a song a week as the Breaks. We had already had a bunch of records out. We had a little bit of momentum. We were on the radar of guys like Swift and guys like Lecrae. And Cass was kind of starting checking for us. And we just put out a song a week, a remix a week. It was called Remix Wednesdays. And every single week we would drop a record. We had 3 mixtapes come out with DJ Wado. We were able to connect and collaborate in his platform. We had a full record come out called Never Arrived. That was 2011. And then we got a NACA showcase. It was NACA South. I remember we almost didn't make it. It was like everything was against us, it felt like. And we did the showcase and we killed it. And out of that one showcase, we didn't have a booking agent. Like, we literally bootstrapped the whole thing. Matter of fact, the way we got a booking agent is I put out a tweet and I said, yo, we're going to be in Myrtle Beach. We need someone that can drive to Myrtle Beach and hang out in our booth. We'll cover your expenses. And some fan named Jermaine Reese was like, I'll do it. And I was like, all right. So we never met this dude. This man drives to Myrtle Beach from Augusta, Georgia, holds down our booth the entire weekend. We didn't know you had to have somebody in your booth the entire weekend. He held down our booth the entire weekend, created like some super janky flyers at Kinko's. It was just like, we didn't know what we was doing at all. But we killed that showcase. Jermaine Reese was our booking agent, and he literally became our booking agent. We was giving him like 10, 15%, and we booked like 20 college shows. And college shows are different because they have budgets allocated. And I think each college show ended up paying us between $2,000 to $3,000 20 college shows. So 2012 was phenomenal. It was a really good year. That was around the same time we decided to launch into launching King's Dream Entertainment and helping other artists put out music. In 2013, I did NACA solo, and I had a couple good showcases, probably did like 10, 15 shows. It wasn't as successful as the breaks, but it was still solid amount of solo shows, and I put out a record called Carry On, and it was starting to get the ball rolling. And I remember hearing around the time Humble Beast was launching, and I was friends with Braille and Thomas and those guys. I remember hearing about my buddies launching Humble Beast, and somebody was like, yo, their first year they grossed $75,000. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, $75,000. Like, that's incredible to make that off of music. And all along, we were starting to make money off of music. Little by little, money was trickling in. So NACA was going for us. Lecrae was gracious enough. He took us on the road and took us to a couple shows. We did like House of Blues San Diego. We did the Reach Life Institute with him in LA. We did the Man Up Conference in Atlanta. And they just started to grow. And at the time, Belief found out he was having a baby. Me and him weren't really clicking like that. So we decided we weren't going to do the breaks no more. We were going to launch in King's Dream Entertainment, solo artist. This is 2012, 2013. In the middle of all of this, I would say the number one variable that helped me really take my craft seriously was two things. First, it was my wife. I remember in 2010, I told my wife, I don't want to be in the same place I'm in a year from now. It was New Year's Eve, 2010. I said, my birthday's on New Year's Eve. I said, next New Year's Eve, I need you to hold me accountable and ask me the tough question if we're in the same place and should we keep making music. 2010, end of 2010, end of 2011, NACA shows booked. Never Arrive was a great record. We had a single with Lecrae on it. Everything had just kept snowballing, and it was building and building, and we had tons of momentum going into 2012. And she was like, of course, like, nah, you did it. Like, you said you were gonna do this thing with the music, and you did it. So that was the one thing, is my wife, she was super encouraging. I think we underestimate rappers, creatives. We underestimate how significant the right spouse is for developing your career and helping you grow as a person and supporting your dreams and your vision. My wife is super supportive. I'll get some more about our relationship. We've been married almost 10 years. I'll get some more about our relationship in another fork in the road moment we had. But I remember that so vividly. And then the second thing is, in the process of all this, we decided we were going to get out of debt. We were knuckleheads when we got married. We got married super young. Knuckleheads, made a big mess of our finances, and we were $45,000 in debt. I had gotten sued. I got my accounts levied for just dumb decisions I made. And in the process, we had to learn, while we were hustling with music, while we were working jobs and just going to school and trying to figure it out, we had to learn how to get out of debt and manage our finances. And that was everything for me. Learning how to be financially literate, discovering Dave Ramsey, which then led me to discover Entre Leadership, his podcast, and his book about entrepreneurship and leadership, which then led me to discover an early version of Gary Vee and to get into his content. And it just kind of kept adding on to each other. And it was a cool time, man. And so around this time, we're getting out of debt. 2013, we get out of debt. I get the opportunity to go on staff at my church. Now, I was already doing pretty well with music. It wasn't a full-time income, but I was doing all right. 2013, I go on staff with my church, work at my church for 2 years. And in that 2 years, we were able to save up, because remember, we were out of debt. $45,000 paid off, 18 months. In 2013, we said, okay, we need to start saving. So we started saving like crazy. We saved probably about 6 to 9 months of living expenses. And then we had a son. Levi was born 2014. So in the middle of all this, now I understand leadership. I've worked at a church and had to wear multiple hats before. I understand how to be a creative and how to think about the numbers. I have a wife that's extremely supportive, and now I have the external motivation of a child. And whenever anybody has a child, you get those gnarly, what am I doing with my life moments? And that's what Levi was for me, man. 2014, I was scared. I was working at the church, and I could tell that was starting to go south because of how intense I was with the music and how things kept growing and kept progressing. And I remember being on tour. It was a tour with Alex Faith, and we were in New Mexico. And I remember calling my wife, and I could just sense things weren't good at the movement in terms of interpersonally. And I'm still at the same church, and they were very gracious with me, but I was gone a lot. And I called my wife and I said, hey, babe, you think we can pray about possibly stepping away from the job? And she replied to me, mind you, Levi is like 6 months. She's a stay-at-home mom, and I'm the sole income provider. And she replied to me, I don't think there's anything we need to pray about. I think you need to come home and put in your 2-week notice. And that's what I did. And so 2015, put in my 2-week notice. It's 2018 now. And 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, every year since, we've been able to gross 6 figures off of this music thing. Multiple streams of income. That's show money, that's merch money, that's royalties, that's sync licensing, multiple streams of income. But and when I say gross, anybody that's a business owner understands, I'm not taking home 6 figures. It's not 6 figures going into my bank account. That's what comes in. I have to pay producers, I have to pay artists, I have to pay cinematographers. We live way below our means because, remember, we're debt free. We have money in the bank if we have a rough month, and we've been able to build so much momentum. And so it's been a wild journey, man. Hopefully that encouraged you guys, hearing my story a bit more. And I'll continue sharing this kind of stuff if you guys find it valuable, but it wasn't an overnight process. Remember, my first record came out in 2004. I didn't go full time with music until 2015. And I'm still not in a place where I'm like super financially comfortable. By the grace of God, my wife stays home with Levi. We live an amazing life, but it's still tight. Like, we're still figuring it out. And we're going to be launching some other things in the next couple weeks around Veda to give you guys opportunities to partner with us in different ways. But man, that's the story. So in recapping, there's a few moments that really switched things on for me. It was my man TJ encouraging me to learn the business, giving me that indie Bible. It was my wife holding me accountable and saying, hey, let's take this thing more seriously. 2010. It was being exposed to other entrepreneurs like Braille and Humble Beast, and seeing successful people, being in proximity with guys like Lecrae and Sho Baraka and all these dudes early on. It showed me that it was possible. And it was me getting out of debt and being exposed to that whole world of entrepreneurship and financial literacy. And again, it was my wife pushing me out and saying, let's do this thing. So let me know what questions y'all got, man. That was really, really cool for me. Thank you for asking. Those of you guys that care. That's my story in a nutshell. I can go further. And I'll probably do a recap video to kind of explain why I make music. But yeah, let me know. Like, comment, all that kind of stuff. Appreciate y'all.
I am so incognito. Far away from him. Incognito. Came in one way. Incognito. Not leaving the same. I'm going with the top down. Waiting for the countdown. All grace, no wishes. No loans, no interest. Feels good. Tony. Yeah. Tony. We the ones chosen.
Stop. Running late here unannounced. Nothing worse than a game with no crown. And I don't fit in to pretend that you blend like a front out of town. God stepped in and said, oh, the account. Now you don't know what to do with the pounds. Take a view of the house, make it true till it's ours. I'm producing amounts. It's the noose, it's the house.
I am so
Ouch.